Alright, today, good morning. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, good night again, wherever you're from. Today I want to talk about the Great Emu War, which was in Australia. I want to talk about what it was. I want to talk about, the attempts made during it, why it started, and the aftermath of it. And just as a disclaimer, you'll find other videos being short too, but again, this video will be short because the Great Emu War, it wasn't very complicated. It's pretty quick to go over. It's not really, like I said, not complicated at all. It's very simple. So let's just get into it. The Great Emu War was a military operation by the Australian government, and I say war very lightly because it wasn't really a war. It was a military operation. It's only called a war because Australian soldiers were deployed, so that just made people think it was a war. But again, it really wasn't. I'm gonna get into how the war started more in depth, but basically it started to reduce emu population, and then the war was in November 2nd to December 10th of 1932, and then during the war, two attempts were made to reduce the emu population. Both of the attempts happened in the same year. Okay, so how it started. Emus were basically breaking fences that were protecting farmers' crops, and they were destroying these crops, and this kind of caused a chain reaction of like smaller pests like rabbits being able to break into those farm areas and then break or eat or destroy even more crops. And I'll get into more in a bit, but Sir George Pierce believed that this war would make the government look good. It would make the government look like it was actually taking action. And the reason that these emus were actually destroying the crops is because they were emigrating to Western Australia. And normally this wouldn't happen during this time of year, but it was because a large drought was happening. So they were going over to Western Australia to look for some more food, some more water, etc., because it just wasn't in a large abundance at the time. So Sir George Pierce, who was Minister of Defense at the time, dispatched soldiers to take care of the emu population or reduce it more. So during the first attempt, two soldiers, which were led by Major Meredith, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his full name, but these two soldiers were deployed with loose machine guns, and they killed around 50 emus. Larger estimates do say this was 200, 500. I really doubt that's true. I would rather just stick with this 50 bird estimate. And because the attempt was just really just a failure, Meredith does withdraw, and he says, and I quote, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world." He says this because during the second attempt, at least, this was reported. I'm guessing it was the same during the first attempt. Each emu took around 10 bullets before they were killed. And these soldiers, by the way, they were deployed with 10,000 bullets, and they only killed 50 birds with 2,500 bullets being used. So again, they used 2,500 bullets, and they only killed 50 birds. So you can just ponder on that, I guess. There was a second attempt, like I said before. This second attempt happened because the problem, obviously, because it only killed 50 birds, the problem was still happening. So the farmers, they asked for help again. George Pierce accepts this offer, and again, Major Meredith is put in charge again. Apparently, this is because there was just a lack of soldiers or people in the army actually knowing how to use Lewis machine guns. I guess they were just it's relatively new at the time, or at least they were new to the Australian army. Like you can see, this second attempt was way more successful. It killed around 986 birds that were confirmed. At least Meredith claims another 2,500 killed too. Who knows if that estimate is actually correct or he was just lying to make himself seem better. Again, because there's as you would probably know, there's way more than, even with this 2,500 number, there's way more than like 3,000 birds, emus in Australia. Way more than that. So again, this is, even though Pierce would like to say it was a success, this second attempt was still deemed a failure. So now we can look at the aftermath. Like I just said, it was deemed both attempts were deemed a massive failure in the war as a whole. Because again, way more than even 20,000 birds, which is what they aimed to kill, way more than that. And the farmers did ask for help 3 other times, but these offers were turned down by the government. The last offer I believe was in 1948, just for reference. And a bounty system was put into place, and this bounty system did see a lot of success. It killed 57,034 birds. At least that's how much bounties were given to the government. Uh, and the issue, this is actually kind of funny, but the issue was literally just solved with better fences. They just made better fences so the birds couldn't actually break the fences and destroy the crops. So yeah, like I said, this war was really simple. There's honestly like I pretty much went over everything that you could go over. It just wasn't much that happened during the war, but it's still a very famous war because, like I just said, I didn't really say it directly, but Australia lost the war to the emus. So that's just kind of a funny thing that people like to go over, and it's true. They really did fail to kill birds, and that's just that. So yeah, that's really just all I want to go over. I just want to go over this little war, this little military operation. It's just a really interesting thing. I think at least. So yeah, I'm gonna do something else now.